Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for coming. So today we will have our Gemini full moon meeting. Before we start, I would like to remind you, if you want to share any comment or ask any question during the webinar, please use the chat box or raise your hand and we will turn your sound on. As always, this meeting will be facilitated by Philip. Welcome, Philip.
Thanks, Inez. Welcome, everyone. Good to see you all here, and a few unfamiliar faces as well. Welcome. I'll talk for a few minutes before we get into the meditation. Excuse me. Just to remind ourselves of a few basic principles, and also to wait for maybe a few latecomers. So we are in Gemini, the third of three festivals. That were initiated in Aries, of course. The new spiritual year, and that impulse in Aries was anchored in Taurus at the Wesak festival, and now in Gemini it's being distributed. And of course, this is why these first three festivals are the most important of the spiritual year. And DK tells us that they are representative of the three major planetary centers: Shambhala for the Wesak full moon, hierarchy for the Easter full moon, and of course humanity for this full moon, which has many names, as I'll go into in the talk later on. But just to remind ourselves of these principles, plus also the three centers within which we all work, the three centers of Shambhala, hierarchy, humanity, head, heart, and throat chakras of the planet. And of course, our role as aspiring disciples, as members of the new group of world servers that mediates in this little circle here, or this one over here, depending on which diagram you're looking at, between hierarchy and humanity. And so these group meditations are always a great service for both hierarchy, humanity, and the new group of world servers as a whole. So just to remind ourselves of those few principles, I think we'll get into the meditation. Just trying to find my toolbar here. Oh, there it is. Okay. Right, I'm just going to turn my video off. And this is a universal meditation that's used by many Bailey groups, the Lucis Trust, and so forth. So it's one that most people are familiar with. Meditation, letting in the light. And so let's take a few deep breaths and release all the activity, busyness of the day thus far. Energizing the etheric body with prana. Letting go of all the physical body tension. And moving into that quiet place within the heart. And so we sound 3 ohms for personal and group alignment. Group fusion. We affirm the fact of group fusion and integration within the heart center of the new group of world servants, mediating between hierarchy and humanity. And we sound the formula for group integration. I am one with my group others, and all that I have is them. May the love which is in my soul pour forth to them. May the strength which is in me lift and aid them. May the thoughts which my soul creates reach and encourage. Alignment. We project a line of lighted energy towards the spiritual hierarchy of the planet, the planetary heart, the great ashram of Sanakumara. And towards the Christ at the heart of hierarchy. Projecting this line of light individually and as a group. And we extend this line of light towards Shambhala, the center where the will of God is known. So we see all the planetary centers in alignment, Shambhala, hierarchy, new group of world servers, and humanity. High interlude. Let us hold the contemplative mind open to the extraplanetary energies streaming into Shambhala and radiated through hierarchy. The energies of Gemini, Sagittarius pouring through now. And using the creative imagination, endeavor to see the three planetary centers, Shambhala, hierarchy, and humanity, gradually coming into alignment and into play, or consolidating their existing alignment. And also be mindful of meeting up with our brothers and sisters all around the world at this moment, in this few days period, full moon, all invoking hierarchy, Shambhala, all helping to precipitate planetary plan. Meditation. Let us reflect upon the seed thought for Gemini. I recognize my other self, and in the waning of that self, I grow and glow. I recognize my other self, and in the waning of that self, I grow and glow. Let us spend a few moments reflecting. Precipitation. Using creative imagination, visualize the energies of light, love, and the will to good pouring throughout the planet and becoming anchored on Earth in prepared physical plane centers through which the plan can manifest. And so we use the sixfold progression of divine love as the sequence of energy precipitation. Shambhala, hierarchy, Christ, the new group of world servants, men and women of goodwill everywhere, and the physical centers of distribution. So we visualize light, love, and the will to good coming anchored on Earth. And we visualize the vast lattice work of lighted triangles that surround the Earth, that connect every individual, every group, every nation. See this light grid pulsing, expanding as we feed and energize this network. lower interlude. We refocus the consciousness as a group within the periphery of the great ashram, and together sound the affirmation. In the center of all love I stand. From that center I, the soul, will outward move. From that center I, the one who serves, will work. May the love of the divine self be shed abroad in my heart, through my group, and throughout the world. We visualize the downpouring spiritual inflow released from Shambhala through the hierarchy and streaming into humanity through the third channel. And we reflect upon how these imploring energies are establishing the pathway of life, becoming world teacher, the Christ. Distribution. As the great invocation is sounded, visualize the outpouring of light and love and power from the spiritual hierarchy, passing through the 5 planetary inlets: London, Darjeeling, New York, Geneva, and Tokyo, irradiating the consciousness of the whole human race. Present compassion. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center, where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center, which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out. May it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. very much, everyone. Before I go start off with the presentation, if anyone would like to share any impressions or make any comments regarding the meditation, or you can just be silent, as many people prefer to be after meditation. Make a comment in the chat there if you want to. Otherwise, we will press on. This is the planetary grid of light that I was using in the meditation. Always a good visualization, I think, to remind us of our interconnectedness with each other. And of course, the Gemini festival has many names. Festival of Unification, the Christ Festival, the Festival of Humanity or Goodwill. And one of my favorite signs, actually, Gemini. It's a fascinating sign that really, in many ways, rules humanity, particularly through its rulers, Mercury and Venus. So Gemini is similar to another air sign, Aquarius, the age we're going into for the next 2,000 years, and is a sign of distribution and dissemination. The word semen, of course, means seed. The etymology of that word means a scattering of seed, a sowing. And this is exactly what is occurring at the Gemini full moon, the dissemination of the planetary plan, or as I like to call it, the annually amended planetary plan, as the hierarchy tweaked the planetary purpose and plan according to what's unfolded in the previous year. So the seed that was planted in Northern Hemisphere symbolism in Aries is now fast growing towards the approaching summer. In plants, the diverse paths taken by roots, stems, stalks, and branches symbolize the ramifying influence of Gemini, as this grand old tree here represents. The third sign, Gemini, does have a lot of similarities to the third ray of active intelligence, but we are told that only the second ray of love wisdom is the only ray to pass through Gemini, which is interesting because this is a love wisdom system, and Gemini is a sign of human relationships. It's the sign of relationships par excellence, of finding something in common with others that leads to a dialogue between the twins, which can be representative of that other person or of your higher self versus your lower self. And hence the adage, if you like, or the keynote for Gemini, I recognize my other self. And where are we now? Can't pull these. Can't seem to find that page. Oh, there we go. I recognize my other self, and in the waning of that self, I grow and glow. Beautiful adage. The waning of the lesser self, the personality, and its dominance in one's life, and allowing it to align, to acquiesce, if you like, to the higher self. soul, which is a greater light, of course, and in that light, one grows and glows, literally, like a plant, sunflower, facing the sun. So, and as I mentioned, these three centers, the will aspect of God, the love aspect of God, divine intelligence and goodwill. So we all know that full moon cycles are great cycles of opportunity to link up with all our group brothers and sisters, physically in gathered groups or online like we are today. 2.5 days before and 2.5 days after, making a total of 5 days. That's 5 days every month that the full moon period saturates us with the energies of the particular zodiac sign. And of course, the accompanying transits in the sky of planets going through other signs of the zodiac. Hence, the opportunity to be extra mindful and reflective, meditatively tuning into the subtle forces pouring into the planet via Gemini, and especially the second ray of love wisdom. And the Christ, of course, is the exemplar upon this planet of the indigo blue ray. And so this is particularly important because Gemini is a very restless sign. It's the incessantly chattering monkey mind that can get easily distracted. And we live in a very Geminian world where there are so many distractions and being bombarded by news and videos and articles and the etheric grid that we call the internet in a sense. So that triangular lattice work I was describing in the meditation is in a sense also a symbol of the internet, how we are all so connected and instantly up to date with what's going on the planet. Hence Gemini, the sign of communication, par excellence. Mercury, the ruler of Gemini, the mouthpiece, the messenger. And so at the Gemini full moon, DK says the result of this solemn 3 days of invocation will be followed by a climaxing day wherein the hierarchy will unitedly and led by the Christ pronounce the entire invocation, prefacing each stanza with its appropriate keynote, again, sounded in unison. These notes you cannot know, but if, for instance, a very large number of the new group of world servers were brought together, the united Om might approximate the appropriate keynote. And so Gemini, as a sign of communication, is related to mantras, and power of sound, vibration, frequency. And as I probably said in the Taurus talk, much lesser known as a sign of communication because Taurus rules the organs of speech, preceding the more well-known sign of Gemini as the sign of communication. The power of sound and of mantra in Taurus is probably even more potent. And hence, it's fitting that Gemini follows Taurus, both as signs of communication, lesser known and more well known. And so we have these centers that we can, of course, it's very two-dimensional, but which we can see in fourth-dimensional relationship to each other as interpenetrating spheres, if you like. And the Great Invocation, of course, is a potent, globally transforming communication and invocation to the higher realms that can be used every day, but especially at any full or new moon festival, and even more potently in group meditation. Many of us find that when we're doing group meditation, we are subject to energies and forces. We experience them physically in our bodies that we don't experience individually. And this is the great joy of group meditation, to work cooperatively as a group and to be able to take on safely more energy than the sum of the total parts, in fact, but which is safe for the individual within that group meditation. So as the second ray of love wisdom is the only ray to pass through Gemini, this force is invoked and disseminated in all its various expressions via the spoken or written word, music, the universal language, art, acts of human kindness, and through that perfect Gemini symbol, the internet. The constellation of Gemini is actually known as the constellation of the cosmic Christ as well. And the second ray being the only ray to come through the pillars of Gemini is an appropriate symbol. Plus also, of course, we are told that the forces of Sirius fall through Gemini, through those pillars, Sirius being the higher self to the solar system as a whole, and the evolution to which most of Earth's humanity will return to once they're liberated and got past the higher initiation. Gemini also rules inner communications because it rules the etheric body, which is the medium of transmission for impulses from the soul via the mental body. The masses of nadis in the etheric body are a reflection of the diverse branches of the nervous system, yet another Gemini symbol. And so Gemini has this quality of formlessness and enables this sign to be very adaptable and malleable, and to enter into intuitive telepathic communication and inner work in general. That's the great beauty and skill of Gemini. Any questions or comments so far?
Nothing so far, Philip.
And now those nadis depicted in this ancient Hindu diagram. At least one representation. You can see many different types of diagrams like this. The Tibetan tells us that Gemini is related to the etheric body. It is the custodian of conditioning energy and the intermediary between soul and body. These are the two allied brothers, the twins of Gemini. In the average person, the etheric vehicle is the transmitter of psychic energy, galvanizing, coordinating the dense physical body and permitting, therefore, astral and mental control of personality. When the man or woman is upon the path of discipleship and therefore upon the reversed wheel leading to initiation, the etheric body becomes the transmitter of soul energy and not of personality force. And as I said before, this is the basis of true telepathy, the understanding of the etheric body. And so these first three festivals of the year are all connected to communication. Mercury, the messenger, is the ruler of Gemini, the soul ruler of Aries, the first festival, and of course Taurus rules the organs of speech, where a Taurian upon the way of liberation would do well to employ the method of directed and motivated speech of an outgoing and explanatory nature. So the Great Invocation was one of the most intricate pieces of transmission that was imparted to Alice Bailey by the Tibetan because of its translation from a very ancient Sanskrit text, or even earlier than that, to English, but to get the right frequency, meter, rhythm, and sound for the whole thing to work as potently as what it does. So even though it's been translated into many languages, and the intent of the meditators behind is the most important thing, the English version may indeed be the most potent version. And there's been a couple of books written about this by a person called John Burgess, who makes some convincing arguments about this. So we have sometimes other words, or more politically correct words, supplanted in some of the verses of the Great Invocation. And it is argued by some purists that that this messes up the rhythm. But again, the intent of the united meditation by all those present is the main thing. So the Great Invocation can be used at any time on full moon festivals or in daily meditation practice. It is a powerful mantra or world prayer that reaches into the higher spheres, having the effect of summoning the devas that assist in the transformation of Earth's etheric body. And this, of course, as most of us know here, is partly the purpose of the triangles work. Triangles formed by aware individuals who agree to link up with each other and energize the lines of light between them. Some people I know have dozens of these triangles where they link up on a daily basis. It doesn't only takes a few seconds to do that, to energize that triangle. And that in turn energizes other triangles which are linked to that triangle. So this will, we are told, change or transform the planetary grid, etheric grid, from squares, we are told, into triangles. Square being a symbol of the personality or the physical plane, and the triangle being a symbol of the soul, triple of the Trinity, triple nature of the soul. So these lines of light are like the nadis in the etheric body. They are in fact formed through creative visualization. Here is the potency of meditation that has the capacity to transform the planet from behind the scenes, so to speak, from the subtle realm, where the planetary purpose is to transform the Earth's etheric body from squares to triangles. Hence the phrase occult meditation, that which is hidden or unseen. And this is a good reminder of some of the really deeply intractable problems on the planet that have been around for centuries and centuries, that humanity keeps banging its head against the proverbial wall in trying to solve, and just keeps on going into endless rounds of conflict. And hence, these problems are best worked at occultly in group formation, preferably, of course, with experienced meditators who know how to direct energy, and also, of course, know how to break up these crystallizations that exist on the astral or the etheric plane. This is the goal of people who work in groups, glamour groups, glamour meditation groups, in terms of dissipating, disintegrating, dissipating the world glamour, or the clouds of glamour that block the light from humanity, from them to be able to actually see what's going on. So various glamour meditation groups based on the Tibetans' teaching on glamour have formed in the last decades or so, and are working at dissolving these thousands of years old crystallized patterns on the astral plane. And so again, we see the great service that group meditation offers to really apply the teachings, the esoteric teachings, the great gift we've been given, to apply it in a practical way that that serves humanity. So one can have many of these triangular associations that are all interlocking with one another, constantly energizing the planet with spiritual forces generated by all the participants who are literally building a new world. So we come to this little bit more detail about sound, rhythm, and meter. The rhythm of a poem is an experience of the pattern sound it makes when read aloud. Any identifiable pattern, regularized in hinted at binary alternations of stress, is its meter. That's a passage I got from an article. Many students of the wisdom participate in or lead group meditations at the full moon cycles, and these meditations are essentially a world service to affirm and build stronger connections to hierarchy and the planetary plan of which they are the custodians, and which we hope to get a glimpse of at these first three full moon meetings of each spiritual year, Aries, Taurus, and Gemini. So everyone on the spiritual path is learning to sense some aspect of the plan and find their role of service to manifest it individually and or as part of a group. Hence, it is a great opportunity to make the most of when people come together, either physically or in online groups. It's been a bit of a revolution, really, the Zoom meetings, particularly in the last few years, of course, that have brought, it's not the same, of course, as being physically present with each other, but it's better than not being able to see one another and to connect with the each individual through the sound of their voice or seeing them physically on the screen. So one thing I pointed out too, that often when the great invocation is sounded by people who lead the meditation, it is said too fast, not allowing time for others to come in at the same time. And this is simply rectified by the lead person saying the first word of each verse, such as from, pause, the point of light, etc. That helps everyone come in with a rhythm, as said up above here, rhythm, meter, cadence. These are all words associated with sound, mantras, singing in the choir, if you like. Therefore, the power of sending the great invocation in unison, rhythmically, and with measured meter is amplified considerably. As the seventh ray of ceremonial order comes into stronger expression, these refinements will become more obvious. And I also made the point, often people bounce through many weekly meditations for one cause or another, to the point where there is the danger of the great invocation becoming something that is said by rote, automatically, without truly connecting to the meaning of the words and also visualizing with the words. That's why I personally pause between each verse so that we can visualize that light coming down and awakening humanity, that love principle pouring into humanity and so forth. That really maximizes the potency of saying great invocation through this visualization. Creating a rhythm in which all can participate, allowing participants to not only chew over the meaning of the words, but to visualize upon the potent wings of sound, enabling the direction of energy with clarity and purpose. Now I had another page open, I thought, and I didn't. Just a minute. Just a moment. Open up my newsletter here. There we go. New share. This. Most of you, I think, get my newsletter. It's the latest one. want to just mention a couple of things in it, but before I do, invite any comments, questions, clarifications. We'll wait a little bit longer so people can gather their questions or comments together. Okay, well, all right. So most of you will have received this. If you haven't, you can go to my website and subscribe. It's always on my website anyway, even if you're not subscribed to it. It's always posted on the first page. And a beautiful symbol of the Gemini twins here in this ancient painting. I think it's a Nicholas Roy picture, actually, called Glad Visitors. I think one's male, one's female. But in many ways, Gemini is androgynous too. Glad visitors with crowns in their hands, actually. Interesting symbolism. So, now of course, I have many subject matter in each newsletter. One I wanted to look at was Venus in Cancer and some of the other current planetary transits. We're just going through the last couple of degrees of Venus in Cancer, actually. But I think it's important because it is the esoteric ruler of Gemini. So whenever the sun is going through a particular sign, it's qualified considerably by the exoteric and esoteric rulers of that sign and the signs that they are traveling through at any particular time. Now, Mercury at the moment is actually where Mercury's in Taurus at the moment. Yeah, I did have a article about that in the last newsletter. It's staying in Taurus for about over the first three festival signs. There is Taurus and Gemini. Mercury is in Taurus, qualifying the expression of all those signs throughout this period. So I think it's quite remarkable. But in this month, where are we now? I'm losing my screen here. Oh, there it is. Okay. No, that's not it. Can everyone see my screen, the newsletter screen with Venus in Cancer here? Just checking. Inez, Natalia?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you, Philip.
Can you see my screen here where it says
Yes.
Venus in Cancer? All right, thanks. So at this full moon, which is tomorrow on the 4th, tomorrow morning at 3:41 a.m. GMT. So we're really right in the full moon energy right now. Venus inhabits the last degree of Cancer, and they say that a planet in the last degree of any sign is always very powerful. And it's been there for a few weeks already, of course, since May the 7th. And its exoteric interpretations are well known. A sec, I'm trying to amplify my screen here, but it's not working. Can't even read that writing there. Doesn't do it like it normally does. Oh, there we go. It's a bit better. So exoteric interpretations of Venus and Cancer are well known. The home comforts artistic decoration around the home, cooking, devotion and loyalty to loved ones and family, emotional sensitivity. Mother's Day is celebrated during this period. And these are all very accurate depictions of Venus in Cancer. But esoterically, there are more meanings. The fifth ray of science is ruled by Venus, science or knowledge. And Cancer is a sign that has mentally oriented rays coming through it. The third ray of active intelligence and the seventh ray of ceremony or magic or organization, which, by the way, also comes through the opposite sign, Capricorn. Both the third and seventh rays come through Capricorn and Cancer. So both of them are really good signs of the organization of resources, for instance. And so again, we see how the rays, how you can see how the rays embellish the meanings of the signs. When you first start to study esoteric astrology, you realize that the rays fill in the missing gaps for the signs, why the signs actually have some of their meanings. So yet these mental rays are distributed by the rulers of Cancer, the Moon and Neptune, rulers of the so-called love wisdom rays, the fourth ray of harmony through conflict and the sixth ray of devotion and idealism. So here's a blended synthesis of love and mind, the odd rays, the even rays, which of course is inextricably entwined in our human evolutionary process. It can be seen how the esoteric rulerships and connections with the rays shed more light, as I just said. For instance, Neptune is esoteric ruler of Cancer, and the sixth ray enhances the loving devotion theme of Venus in Cancer. And I know personally several clients and friends who have this position and who express it thus. Cancer, the crab, represents the salty matrix, mother, myrrh, the sea, from where all life is birthed, hence its reputation as Mother Earth. Cancer, the mother. Venus is depicted in myth, birthed in the ocean from the blood of Uranus's severed testicles, or in art, adored by the angels, such as in Botticelli's painting, as she stands in the shell there. A very esoteric picture. And of course, the mythology of Venus's relationship to Uranus, the ruler of the seventh ray, which comes through Cancer. There are many, many associations you can find because the ageless wisdom was encoded in all the mythologies of the world, Greek, Scandinavian, South American, you name it. Before the Western tradition, particularly the Greek and Scandinavian. So we have angels here in attendance to Venus, who is depicted as a feminine quality and of course is known as the goddess of love. And here again we have the fifth ray and its association with the second ray of love wisdom. The fifth ray is really a masculine, if you like, ray. The second ray is more a feminine ray, although in a sense they're both beyond gender. Venus in the ancient textbooks is in fact is called Sukra and is regarded as masculine. It's interesting. So Cancer is the container, whether it is the cat in the box or given the rays that pass through it, the container of mind. It's quite amusing how cats love snuggling into boxes and because it gives them protection and safety. This is a classic Cancerian symbol. And cats, in fact, Cancerian animals, domesticated animals, come under the rulership of Cancer. So DK tells us in esoteric astrology that the power of Venus in this sign tends to make the mind the servant of the personality, and this is aided by the forces of the third ray of active intelligence. Thus, the stage is set for the appearance of the soul in form. Cancer is very much the container, the form, the body. You would find it an interesting study to compare the effects of these ray potencies as they find expression in cancer upon one, the unevolved man, as he demonstrates form control, and two, the evolved man, initiate and savior, as he demonstrates soul control. The forces which control the soul while dominated by form become the instruments of world service. So a curious position, this or interpretation of Venus in Cancer. Even in esoteric astrology, many astrologers learn by rote the meanings of the planets and signs, planets and houses, and quite often you'll hear them commentating about that. But you can tell when they're talking that they don't really understand why the whys of the meaning of that planet and that sign. Can I ask you just to turn your videos off there? It's a bit distracting sometimes. Thanks. Anyway, like all signs and planets and rays, there are lower and higher expressions depending on the stage of soul unfoldment. At a fundamental level, Cancer is a sign of instinctual awareness and survival, the scavenging crab on the sea floor, ruled over by the god of the waters, Neptune. And it's funny, I found this picture of a crab scavenging a fish on the sea floor and bringing together the sign of Pisces and Cancer, the two water signs together. Both of them very psychic, of course, too. And so this Venus in Cancer transit through this sign is in fact preparing us for when the sun enters Cancer in what, a couple of weeks' time. What's the date today? The third, about almost 3 weeks' time, where it will stay for another month, as it does every year, of course. So, and I had a real insight into this when I was writing this about the scavenging crab on the sea floor, ruled over by the god of the waters, which relates to the law of economy expressed by the third ray of active intelligence, which passes through Cancer. And the seventh ray too, because the seventh ray, the ray of organization, is the ray of organizing energy and using it efficiently. So at a more evolved level, the scavenger becomes the redeeming savior, or Neptune, the esoteric name for the Christ in the West, also referred to as the Great Redeemer. Scavenging and redemption both have similar meanings. So esoterically, the zodiac signs tell the story of humanity's unfolding consciousness from the time of mental individualization in ancient Lemuria, when Cancer and Venus were both prominent in the planetary horoscope, as I have explained in various essays and videos and in my book Unveiling Genesis. So I'm not going to go through all that just now. But just to read out another passage, Cancer is the sign of instinctual life, and that in Leo, the intellectual mind became part of the individual man's equipment. So what I'm referring to here is that both Cancer and Leo were active in the planetary horoscope during the 5,000-year individualization period back in ancient Lemuria. Hence, DK is referring to both these signs in this passage. So Cancer is a sign of the instinctual life, and that in Leo, the intellectual mind became part of the individual man's equipment. This intellectual awareness is the result of a slow evolution of the instinctual nature, Cancer, which when it has reached a certain stage of development, came under the direct influence of the hierarchy of the planet in a new way, and then under the stimulation of energies from the planet Venus, a fusion took place, which resulted in the emergence of individual self-conscious man, which of course is Leo. Leo is all about individualized self-consciousness. Cancer is a sign that's related to mass consciousness. And what we're seeing today at the end of the Piscean age are millions of humanity emerging from mass consciousness, becoming individual, free thinking or more independent thinking individuals. And this Leo quality is the polar opposite of the sign Aquarius, the age that we're going into. So it's fitting that this Leo polarity is so strongly activated. But of course, it promotes also a strong sense of me first and entitlement that you see everywhere. This Leo kind of independent, powerful human being who's moved out of mass consciousness. Venus and Cancer are also both connected to the cosmic mother, the Pleiades constellation that embodies the third or mother aspect of the cosmic triangle of the Great Bear, Sirius, and the Pleiades, which the seven rays, as we know, pass through into the solar system, conditioning all kingdoms on planet Earth. The Great Bear, Sirius, and the Pleiades are the conditioning triangle in esoteric astrology, from which we basically start in terms of understanding the origin of the seven rays and their transmission into the solar system, affecting all kingdoms on this planet. Do you have any other comments now? All right. Of course, you can read this article at your own leisure if you haven't done so already. Jupiter and Taurus, how much time do we have left? We have a bit of time, I think. Jupiter and Taurus is another important transit. Jupiter is the ruler of the second ray of love wisdom and has higher and lower expressions, of course, like all the planets. And will be in Taurus, it's just entered Taurus, and will be there for another year until May 2024. Mighty and magnanimous Jupiter, as I like to refer to him as, sign of values, money, acquisition, and resources, typically manifesting as material abundance. Yet the downside, of course, can be greed, financial overreach, gluttony, love of luxury, or overindulgence in pleasures. Hence, one lesson of Jupiter and Taurus is right stewardship, generosity, and discrimination around money and resources, developing an understanding of values. The earthy nature of Taurus lends itself to patience and persistence, stability, being grounded, getting in touch with nature and its rhythms, its joyous song and astonishing beauty. So a good time to get out in the wilderness, up in the mountains, down by the beach, connecting with nature, getting in the garden, doing a bit of weeding, planting flowers, vegetables. These are all great Taurus contemplative activities, in fact. Taurus is a sign of rumination, to use a bovine terminology. So I just want to go down to talk about esoterically. Jupiter rules the second ray of love wisdom, of course. Primary ray of our solar system, from which the other six rays are but subtones or emanations. Taurus is noted for Buddha's wisdom aspect, Christ the love part of the love wisdom equation. Hence the opportunity for the getting of wisdom while Jupiter is in Taurus, to wise up, for humanity to acquire a greater degree of wisdom. And we certainly need that in bucket loads, do we not? So the experiences of the last few years for many, ruminating in retrospect or chewing the cud, to use these bovine terms, may yield a wiser, more intuitive perspective. Wisdom equals buddhi equals intuition, beyond the mind, direct knowledge. There's a few points I want to make out, but also, of course, well, the new moon was recently was conjunct Alcyone, the star of intelligence. So the wisdom of Taurus is gleaned from its insatiable appetite for knowledge, which, applied in the crucible of everyday life, yields wisdom. Taurus has a rule of Vulcan is at work here, hammering at his forge, fashioning in the furnace raw materials of knowledge. And you can see Vulcan, or Hephaestus as he's called, in this Nicholas Roerich painting, forging a sword by the looks of it, underground, hidden from view, hence the esoteric nature of Vulcan, which hasn't been officially discovered yet, but which is an intra-mercurial planet, so close to the sun, and Mercury, which is very bright that it's hard to see or identify. So Jupiter's transit through Taurus is going to invoke the esoteric rule of Vulcan's presence through that time, through this next year. And Vulcan's work is hidden by the moon's exaltation in Taurus, meaning that, quote, the form side of life is a powerfully controlling factor and one with which the man must ever reckon. The moon is the mother of the form, and in this case veils or hides Vulcan, which might be expected. The moon, therefore, stands here for the fashioner or molder of the form, bringing in both the feminine and masculine aspects of form building, the dual functions of father-mother. So, of course, this can result in the creation of a form of great potency, driven by self-interest, reflecting Moon Taurus activity, but with Vulcan Taurus activity in an awakening Taurian, or just generally, while Jupiter transits through Taurus, the form nature can be fashioned anew and motivated in a different manner and raised up into heaven, so to speak, and thus irradiated and glorified. So I'm going to skip this next section, but before I do, please feel free to comment or question. And oh, happy birthday, Michelle. Okay, we'll see you later on. Okay, anyone else? All right, so Venus in Leo. So Venus is about to go into Leo the next few days, actually, from June the 5th to October the 9th. It's kind of in a cuspal place, really, right at this full moon, which is interesting. And in Leo, you have Venus in Leo is typically very magnetic and charismatic position that I often refer to as the movie star, with Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman, who have this planet in Leo. And I discovered also Greta Garbo and Selma Hayek, also screen sirens, if you like, or movie stars. But of course, obviously, many people who are not in movies have Venus in Leo as well and express it differently in all the variations. So it's not just this one-dimensional movie style thing. But the radiance of sun-ruled Leo is a great complement to Venus, the most sparkling and visible of planets in the night sky. So esoterically, Venus in Leo links to the mighty star Sirius, the brightest star in the night sky. Venus, the brightest planet, and Sirius, the brightest star. And hence the invocation of light that we invoke in our meditations. Venus is regarded as the highest self or alter ego to Earth and is one of the planets that transmits energies from Sirius, a star that is the highest self of the solar system as a whole. And of course, both of which were present at individualization back in ancient Lemuria 21 odd million years ago. And the fifth ray, which Venus rules, is one of the two rays that passes through Leo, the fifth sign, a sign of manas or mind, the five-pointed star, the pentagram, are all symbols of the fifth ray. Sorry. And of course, as we know, as I mention every year, later when the New World Religion is founded and is working, we shall find that the major monthly festival in August, held at the time of the full moon, will be dedicated to the task of making contact via the hierarchy with Sirian force. Sirius governs Leo, as do other constellations govern other signs. Hence, due to Venus going retrograde and direct between June the 5th and October the 9th, quite a long period, 3 months, June, July, August, September, about 4 months. This passage through Leo spans the August Leo festival, offering opportunity for intentional alignment with the forces of Sirius. Although the influence of Sirius is not consciously felt until after the third initiation, its energy as a guiding force for many can be invoked in group meditation. This is a key factor. And you may not consciously register that energy, but you may have an interesting dream or experience a day or a week later past the meditation that may reflect you getting in contact with that energy in a safe way through group meditation. So this is because the path to Sirius will be the major one, as I said before, that souls on Earth will take once they've achieved liberation. And so as the fifth and first rays pass through Leo, there is Leo's great power as a ruler, benign sovereign of its domain, expressing the two inextricably entwined paths of love and mind, heart and head. Of course, the fixed star Regulus will also be invoked when Venus turns retrograde at various dates during this period. But we're in Gemini now, which is another sign that takes the energy of Sirius through it. In fact, I have identified 7 signs of the zodiac that take the Sirian energy through in one way or another. Cancer, Capricorn, Gemini, Scorpio, and others. So, and this may relate to those 7 signs corresponding to the 7 ray energies. But that's another deeper exploration I need to make somewhere down the track. So Venus is also known as the planet of love and relationships through its skill of reconciling opposites and the creation of harmony and beauty upon the mental plane, filtering down eventually to the astral plane where love and sex are experienced for humanity as a whole. This is an important thing. Venus is regarded as the planet of relationships, and that's why she is the esoteric ruler of Gemini, the sign of relationships, the premier sign of relationships. Generally, exoteric astrology regards Libra as the sign of relationships, which is true, but it's more to do with personal relationships. Gemini is more to do with general relationships. Any other comments, questions? All right. Well, I did say before that Venus and Sirius were responsible for the awakening of consciousness back in at individualization in Lemuria. So I won't go into that again. And I think I could just comment on Mars and Leo too, which will be in this sign whilst Venus is going through Leo. So Mars has been already in Leo for the last couple of weeks and can really amplify this theme of me first entitlement as it passes through the sign, the kind of lower ego. When the planet passion meets a passionate fire like Leo, there is certainly a recipe for fireworks, not necessarily this pretty light in the sky. In historic astrology, Mars rules the solar plexus center, the seat of the astral body, as we all know. So the transit of the god of war through the previous emotionally sensitive sign of Cancer was challenging. But in Leo, it's a different quality, of course. So it's a so-called non-sacred planet that shows us quite often where anger, aggression, frustration, and so forth can reside. So it tends to be forceful and aggressive, highly egotistical, competitive, energetic, and creative. If anyone knows friends or family that have Mars and Leo, they'll understand this immediately. It gives leadership, courage, and confidence, as well as strong sexual urges, jealousy, possessiveness, argumentation, and a forceful, dominating lower ego. Mars and Leo can be the drama queen par excellence, or the karaoke queen, if you like. So many of these descriptions are indicative of Mars's dominance in the solar plexus center, the home of the animal brain, kama manas, in fact, the lair of the lion. It's where the dweller lurks, the dweller on the threshold, the dweller fella. So emotional attachments to ways of thinking may be revealed during this Mars transit through Leo. For those cultivating awareness and consciousness in their lives, beware the tendency for obsessiveness, to fall in thrall of the beast of personality, to pump oneself up during this period, to defend the ego automatically without really thinking, to get triggered, to catch yourself when you're being triggered by someone. This is a real test of Mars and Leo, I think, because the immediate point of least resistance is to jump to ego defense. It's easier said than done. The key is vigilance and cultivation of the Aquarian polarity, where lies a sense of greater needs beyond the little self, the tendency for me first, but also the Aquarian detachment, the attitude of being detached, not buying into the drama of Mars and Leo. So beware of Mars-ruled activities like driving and what unfolds in the mundane places like the local supermarket, the Whole Foods parking lot, battle for the parking space. So the evolutionary journey demands that we shift from polarization in the lower centers and function in the higher centers, from the blinded personality to the illumined soul, enabling individual soul purpose functions through an integrated personality. And so what Mars does is creates an acute awareness of what is unresolved within the threefold personality, particularly in the astral body. That's where Mars is the great teacher in this respect. And so therefore, while going through Leo, which is a sign related to the heart, the physical heart and the heart center, to raise those energies consciously through visualization from the swamp of the solar plexus, if you like, up into the fiery crucible of the heart. From fear to love, from the conditional to the unconditional, from self-centeredness to selflessness, Leo to Aquarius. Right. Of course, Mars and Leo will also be traveling over the 2 pointer stars, the pointer Polaris, that the Tibetan mentions are so important in stroke astrology. Merak and Dubi are here. I don't know if you can see it very well. Merak, the star furthest from the pointer star, from Polaris, I should say, down here. Polaris being the pole star. And Dubi, the closest to that star. So one's at 14 degrees Leo, the other one's at 18 degrees Leo, approximately. And so when Mars goes over Dubi, which has to do with the lower self, then it can really amplify the expression of the lower self. When it goes across Merak, maybe something miraculous will happen as far as transcending the lower energy of Mars and connecting with the soul. But of course, you can read all the details in this article if you haven't seen it already. The energy of the pointer furthest from the pole star, which is Merak, begins to make its presence felt, and a sense of right direction or guidance is registered by the disciple upon the path. And such guidance, when followed, leads man nearer to the hierarchy. A good note to finish on, I think, without overloading you all too much with detail. And so if there are any other questions or comments anyone wants to make, then pipe up now. Very good. Well, I shall hand it back over to you, Inez, and thank you everyone for turning up and engaging in this world service meditation, and hopefully see you here next month. Until then, ciao for now.
Thank you all for coming. Until next month.